Hey, happy Tuesday morning to you, everyone, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. We're looking at Dr. David Hester's 23 affirmative arguments that he offered in our formal public debate July 14th and 15th here at Ardmore, Oklahoma. And DVDs and CDs of that will be available before very long at all. The masters are being rendered. And Dr. Hester argued, point number 20, in his argument number 20, that AD 70 simply could not have been the judgment that the Bible talks about, because the Bible talks about the judgment of the living and the dead. Pardon me. And as we noted in our video yesterday, he said that it could not have been, the judgment could not have been in AD 70, because the judgment that the Bible talks about is the judgment of all former generations. Well, go back and watch that video, folks, about what Jesus said about who was going to be judged in that generation. Now look, Matthew chapter 23, all of the blood of all of the righteous, all the way back to Abel. Look at Hebrews chapter 11. Guess what? Hebrews 11 is based upon Matthew 23. Where does it start? About all of the righteous who suffered for their faith, who longed for, guess what? The resurrection, the new heaven, the new earth, the new city. All the way from Abel up through Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, all of the old covenant worthies. Were those former generations? They were martyrs. Okay. Hebrews chapter 11 posits Abel onward as martyrs. Were those former generations? And yet, Jesus said, all of the blood of all of the righteous from Abel onward, Hebrews chapter 11, Abel onward, would be judged in his generation. Oh, but now watch this. Dr. David Hester appealed to 2 Timothy chapter 4, which spoke of the judgment of the living and the dead. And he said that has not happened. Could not have happened. Well, watch this. Matthew chapter 23 again. All of the blood of all of the righteous, from righteous Abel unto Zacharias son of Barachias, whom you slew between the temple and the altar, shall come upon this generation. Verily I say unto you, all of these things shall come upon this generation. Well, was Jesus' generation living? So what do you find in Matthew 23? You find the judgment of all of the dead, all of the righteous, all the way back to Abel. And you find the judgment of the living. The judgment of the living and the dead in that generation. You see, as I've stated, Dr. David Hester has very clearly not done very much study on the doctrine of eschatology. He even admitted that. And so for him to stand up and say, the judgment of the living and the dead did not take place in AD 70, it completely and totally contradicts what Jesus said in Matthew 23. It completely denies Hebrews chapter 11. The judgment of the living and the dead occurred in AD 70, or else Jesus lied, or else Jesus failed. Let me suggest again that you get a copy of my book, The Resurrection of Daniel chapter 12, verse 2, Fulfilled or Future. This is one of the most comprehensive studies of Daniel chapter 12 as it relates to the doctrine of the resurrection. You'll be absolutely amazed at the wealth of information, the wealth of documentation that you'll find in this book. Go to my website, eschatology.org or BibleProphecy.com. Order the book. Mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping. Well, thanks so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings, and we will have more in our examination of Dr. David Hester's 23 affirmative arguments We'll see you on the flip side.